Alright, I am back with another First Descendant video. Today is a bit of a mea culpa in which, surprising even myself, I have done a more or less complete 180 on what I feel about this game. Initially, I said it sucked and that I was not impressed. People who did like it were saying that I was judging it too quickly. I mean, it was a first impression, and I don't think it makes a very good first impression. But I now have 45 hours in the game, and it's really started to click with me. And I said this on Twitter, and I want to kind of go over. I am playing lives, which is why I'm just sort of dicking around, because I want to show a few things in town. I wanted to go over why this is. I'm not trying to make the case that this is like an explicitly good game that like everyone should play and try. I'm going to say why I've started really liking this game and why it started to click with me. My biggest issue, my really main issue right now is technical problems. And like you probably are already seen, like my character just jump around. I cannot figure out how to fix this. It gets worse in a group of players, but even playing solo, I'm getting these hitches, and it doesn't have to do with my internet, my settings. It's driving me crazy. But outside of that, that is definitely my main issue. I will say that what really started to click was when you get into these later maps, mainly these three. I'm not at Fortress yet. This gets a lot more interesting in terms of the types of bosses you fight to get there and void intercepts. The way you can start really scaling up your character's power, and the fact that the missions here get a little bit more in depth, whereas in these maps, they're really, really bare bones. It's like defend one zone, kill 30 enemies, that's it. Some of these areas do have some pretty more involved missions, like there's one where you're like scaling a whole tower as enemies spawn, and like it's, you know, and I'd say the strike infiltration missions are getting better. It does remain an issue that some of these grinds are not great, especially when you have to kind of go back and low-level grind things that are just sort of cakewalks. I think this will change once I get to hard mode, and everything sort of scales up a bit with better drop rates, but that is sort of the main issue right now. If I had to sum it up, the main reason I'm liking this now is because it feels like a game that is not just a fresh start, and we're all starting kind of at ground zero here. But it's something where I feel like I'm really working towards stuff at all times. And this is something I've not felt in, my main game, Destiny, for a while. I don't think this is Destiny's fault. Destiny's obviously a 10-year-old series, and it's very hard to, like, keep building new things you're really working toward when your power level just sort of inches up and you're at the same power all the time, and you're just kind of going for god rolls of new weapons that are not that different than your old ones, but, like, that's the setup. It's still really fun to play. I'm not dogging on Destiny, but this is something that First Descendant offers me that I think Destiny doesn't. So in this time where Destiny's content is a little more spread out now, I really think that this is scratching an itch for me that I have not really felt in a while, since maybe Diablo 4 got better, where they introduced kind of new, more interesting grinds. But again, this is brand new. It's still, I'll give it, this is a honeymoon period, and I'm not saying I'm going to play this for 400 hours, but this is why it's working for me right now. I understand the idea that this has shitty microtransactions, and it does. The microtransactions here are not good. You can, instead of just grinding for a character and earning it, you can just pay. This is essentially the equivalent of like $3 to instantly unlock them. I think that's shitty, and it negates a kind of core pursuit of the game. There are what they do with the skins is also very funny. Let me find on Bunny here. So like, for instance, on Bunny, if you want, like, okay, so you can get this pink bodysuit, but if you want, the makeup to match the bodysuit with these little bunny ears, you have to buy a separate bundle because it doesn't come with the thing, and everything is sort of mismatched here. And like, oh, if you want the helmet instead, that's a separate thing too. Like, it does some really crap things like that. But like, I bought a skin. I thought that this was cool. I didn't buy the ass skin, but I just thought it was a cool recolor. and cool hair, and I just wanted to differentiate myself. And like, I don't have a problem spending money on stuff like that, as I have done in many games where I've invested time. I've bought, cosmetics here and there. Here, it sells boosts. It sells some amount of items that will help you to some extent. Some of these are packages I don't think you can rebuy, but it's and then this is just straight up pay for power. If you buy an ultimate version of these characters for an insane amount of money, you will start with more slots for more potential upgrades, something that is very hard to earn in game. So that's shitty. But what I found is like you can just sort of ignore all this, and again, the only thing I purchased is like a skin or two, where I think if you just sort of ignore the store exists and resist the temptation, it is fun to grind out a lot of these characters. Like, yes, sometimes it can be frustrating if you don't get the drops you want, but I have 3 now. I have Bunny, I have Yessa, who I started with, I have Freyna, who I had to earn, and I just unlocked Sharon. I'm working my way toward a couple other ones. There are, I think there's 21 total. And what I found here is like, these are grinds, certainly, and it does require, a good amount of luck to land the things and a good amount of farming, but like, it's all pretty doable. I'd say outside of the ultimate variants, which are nuts grinds, it's all decently doable to grind out these characters once you have the content unlocked. A lot of the pieces are, depending on if you're doing the right activity, like a 38% drop rate for a lot of these things, and then the other materials you need are pretty easy to just like go and farm. One thing I like about the way this is set up is like the UI could use some work, but you go into these research things and you hit acquisition info and it'll tell you exactly where you need to go to farm stuff. Again, if anything I say here is from Warframe, like fine, but I have not played Warframe in ages, so I'm just talking about what works for me in this. And so this stuff I'm not able to unlock it yet, so I can't get him, but if I progress a little more, I can start farming him. And it really tells you kind of what you want to pursue and where. So if you want a certain weapon and you got to assemble these pieces for it, like, okay, I got to go, do this Void Fusion Reactor event, or I got to farm this boss. And I like at any given time having a bunch of stuff I'm working toward. This can be farming a weapon. This can be farming these materials, which will allow you to upgrade your characters. So you're constantly investing in, upgrading your weapon mods and then upgrading your Descendant mods. You'll hit a max, but then you can farm to get past the max. That is a pretty tough farm, but it's still something you can work toward. Also, another core system I like in this is you are sharing progress across all these characters. And every time you get a new character, it's not like you're starting over from scratch. The way this works is that if you start a new character, so the one I just got is Sharon, who's only level 22 out of a max of 40, she can start with all of your shit. She can use your level 81 really good machine gun, which means she can at least be competitive in higher end content rather than needing her to go through the whole low level process again and like rank up and like get a level 20 gun, a level 30 gun. Like, you can skip all this and you're still a little weaker. You have less health and stuff like that, and you'll be a little more fragile, but you are at baseline decently strong compared to your other characters. The leveling process is irritating because it does take a while, and the best way to level farm is like really dull, really low level activities. But again, you're so far ahead here where all of these mods are shared across all characters. So if you're making progress with one mod, you're making progress on all of your characters, especially for really basic stuff you're going to use, like defense, or this thing which gives you more slots, or like more skill power. And then some of these are going to be specific, like I only have one toxic character, so this is only good on Freyna right now. But a lot of the baseline stuff you can share, and again, this will allow these characters to succeed in higher end content. Like the current maps I'm running with my maxed out high gear characters, I'm playing alongside players that are like level 14, level 25, and they don't suck. They don't really suck because it's possible to keep up based on the way the system works. So that's why I feel like earning characters and unlocking new characters feels good, because not only is it just it's nice when they drop, and that's like a good feeling in a looter, obviously. Um, but it's good that you're sort of at this head start that other games would not really allow. Destiny does this to a certain extent. You can, especially now, they just started like sharing power level across characters in the sense that like your drops will be that high level, but this one allows just all of your weapons, all of your upgrades to carry over, and it's just that you have to level them, and that's really the only thing. Um, Besides that, there are certainly annoyances in here. The whole timed research thing is very annoying. Like that's clearly a mechanic where they just want you to pay to skip it. But like given that there's so much stuff to be doing at any given time, oh, I can actually craft Velby now. That was my last piece I needed. So I'm about to unlock another character in 16 hours, which that's annoying. Sure, that's annoying and very stupid. But like again, you're doing so much other stuff in a given basis. Like if I can't play her till tomorrow, like it doesn't really matter. I don't need her like urgently for something now. It's just all of these characters are sort of a long-term pursuit, and you're going to end up kind of building them all up and picking your favorites. And so for Volby, for instance, I think I have a mod that is dropped for her. Let me see if I can find this, which is like one of the super rare mods. These are like character specific. So this is a Transcendent mod that does not have a level attached to it that can be used, whenever, that only works on Volby. So as soon as I research Volby, I'm going to throw this on her, and that's like something cool that I got, for her. This is true. This is for Ajax. This is for Blair. This is for Jaber. These are characters I don't have yet, but once I work toward them and unlock them, I'm going to have instant access to these. I did find a Viessa one. The drop rates on these are kind of nuts, so this has just been sort of luck that I've gotten these. So if you're like target farming one, that is going to be very difficult, certainly. And then the grind to increase your module capacity is exhausting too, because one of the things is like a 3% drop rate, and like that's very poor, and it can be gotten around by the ultimate versions of characters. I don't think they just straight up sell energy activators. Maybe they're in the battle pass. The battle pass kind of sucks. There's no actual. I haven't bought the battle pass. There's no actual skins in here that I can see. I think there's something in here. There was something I found where bonus shop. I don't know. There were a couple skins from like challenges or something you could do that I don't even know how to find that anymore. But it's not very much. So I'm not really motivated to buy the battle pass. Like this, the some of the skins here are actually like pretty cheap. Like the one I got for Bunny, that's like a kind of a cool recolor, is it was like $1.25, which again, it should probably be free. Like it's essentially a shader or whatever, but like stuff, the cosmetic ones could be worse. The bad ones are the $100 ultimate things, but again, it's not mandatory. I think you just don't really need to pay attention to the microtransactions, and you can have fun. And it's not a PvP game. And I just wrote an article about how you're playing this game mostly solo, because the enemy scaling is just so terrible on higher levels that you want to do bosses, you want to do a lot of the strikes solo. So it really starts clicking later on. And if people bounce off this initially because they see all these complicated systems, they see the microtransactions, I understand that. I'm not saying you're wrong to think that. I fully get that, and I had the same first impression. And I did almost quit this. I'm like, I get what this game is going to be. Like, this is just going to get really annoying. But, like, it got better. Instead, it got better. I figured out how to do at least some mildly satisfying grinds, and, like, it is sort of mindless, and it takes a certain type of player to, enjoy doing kind of samey grinds all the time. But Gathalion brought this up, where it feels like Borderlands in a lot of ways, where there are obviously people who would just farm the same boss over and over and over a million times to get that one drop. Oh, this glitching is killing me. I'll try to reset my internet again, but it's similar to that philosophy where, yes, some of the drop rates can suck, but like if you want something to farm, if you want long-term things to work toward, this is something that you can pursue and work toward in the future. And where am I going? I think it's just a fun kind of leisurely pursuit. And like, it's not been leisurely for me because I've been pretty obsessed with it and been grinding very hard. But, in downtime between games, if this is your genre, I don't think it's reinventing the wheel, certainly. I think it has stolen almost everything from Warframe. It certainly stole some icons from Destiny, as we saw. And it is not the most original. It is waifu. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Waifu. Focus with these, hot chicks and whatever. But like whatever. I don't care. I'm not going to deduct points for that. It's very engaging to me now. It was not very engaging at the start, but as you progress, I've really had a good time kind of mastering a lot of the boss fights. That these are mechanically interesting, I think, and it requires you to kind of kit out for them specifically. It's been very gratifying to take on bosses that everyone was having a ton of trouble with and like really strategizing and being able to kind of get past them myself. Even if the main reason everyone's failing is because of enemy scaling, and doing it solo is easier. That has been gratifying for me. Being able to finally craft characters I've been working on for half a day, 2 days, whatever, feels really good. And then being able to try them out. My biggest complaint with that is leveling is bad. But again, with so much carrying over, it's not really that big of a deal. So for me, this has felt ultimately like a worthwhile investment of my time. I'm not going to say this is the most creative or brilliant game or, not a lot of samey grinds here and there or everywhere. But for me and what types of games I like, I do enjoy this. And since this is Nexon and since it's live service and it's Korean and it probably will do well over there, I have confidence that this game is going to continue for a long time. I'm sure they'll try to milk it for more microtransactions and maybe, make grinds worse, and that would suck. But this doesn't feel to me like an Anthem or Suicide Squad or an Avengers where it's going to just be constantly teetering on the brink of death and you don't know if you should invest into it or not because, like, what's the point if it's just dead in 6 months or a year? It doesn't feel like that it's going to be that type of game because, these Korean MMO live service games, like, they're in it for the long haul. And this launched very successfully. Launched with 250,000 concurrent players on Steam. It has cross-console play. Another really good thing is in the wider world here, all of these missions, however, sort of bare bones they may be, has really effective drop in matchmaking where scaling is not bad for that. So it's very fun to like join a mission in progress to make it take less time or to have people join you to back you up. So they do drop in matchmaking really well. That's another thing they do. Again, my biggest problem here is technical. I don't know how to fix this glitching. Again, if you have any advice, please let me know. I don't think I'm alone in this, but it's been very frustrating and is hampering what a game that I otherwise am generally enjoying. So this is why I've done a 180. I'm not promising I'm going to play this for 200 hours, and it's not going to become like my main thing, I don't think. But I wasn't wrong to judge it so quickly. It does make a bad first impression. I will say that. I understand why a lot of people are saying that. But if this is your genre, as this is my genre, I think there is a lot to like here. And even though, Warframe is probably better, I'm not going to dispute that. It feels more daunting to me to start up Warframe now with people with years of experience. Like, even if they streamlined it, I like the idea of everyone being on the same playing field here and being able to get into a game like this on the ground floor. That feels good to me. Anyway, that's all I got. Give it a try. Don't give it a try. It's free. That's the other thing. So there's really no harm in at least attempting it. I would not be surprised if you don't like it at first. I would expect you to perhaps not like it at first, but I'm just giving my own testimony here that over time, I really started to enjoy it. Again, that took, 30, 35, 40, 45 hours to get to that point, and I understand if people don't have the time to devote to that, but I'm just saying that it did get a lot better and more fun for me over time. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.